Hello, this is Kara from Taro, welcoming you to the red carpet of this award season for tarot decks. This is an inventive VR by Taro for Tired People, and this is the 2025 Deck Awards. I think it's a great idea to break things up a little bit, and you all know that I've been partaking in almost every holiday VR that there is this year, and kind of let go of my readings for a while and just immersing myself in VRs. But this is a wonderful tag for everybody in the world that doesn't celebrate Christmas or the Festivus holiday seasons, or my favorite, Krampus. So this gives us a chance to delve into our pop culture references and also the decks that have been most meaningful to us this year and give them their due. I wish I had a few more sequins to strew around. Hello, this is Kara from Taro. My dear friend S at Taro for Tired People created a tag which I really thought was wonderful. It's the 2025 Deck Awards. It's meant to be like the Oscars, and I thought, especially for this time of year when a lot of people are not celebrating Christmas, I thought this was a great idea. So there's something for everybody. And I will dive into these various categories. The first one, the witchiest deck of the year. Now, as most of you know, I don't really do witchy, but it didn't take long for me to think about this because definitely witch inclusive are fairy tales, and fairy tales I definitely do. So this Portuguese deck, Victor Valentim's Taro dos Contos de Fada, is a beautifully enchanting deck. I've done a separate walkthrough of this already. It has a book with many delightful spreads, and it comes with a little bag inside. And I got this from Amazon. I don't know if it was Amazon Portugal, but it was easy enough to find. They're not in order, but it is definitely cinematic. A really beautiful deck, each one with this archway. It clearly has references to some of the Disney casting. So it's Disney informed, which I think is only fair now that I think about it, because Disney has been so seminal, and so there's another one that I consider that Disney informed because Belle is wearing a yellow dress, as she did in the Disney film. Disney informed because Disney has shaped our image of so many of the different fairy tales, but it's not Disney exclusive, so I think that that's appropriate. This is a much more Victorian looking image. It's a truly beautiful deck. One of my favorite Chariot cards out of all decks. And I'll stop there. Debut deck of the year, the Sequitur Taro, with this handmade paper booklet. It has been a standout. Very modern. As you see, some of them are turned sideways because I'm really enjoying using the directionality of these cards because they are square. A lot of different pop art styles in this kind of cohesive color palette. Bright and fun and a really fresh take on traditional images. And yet still not as aggressively counterculture as some more modern decks are. And yet entirely inclusive, really the whole range of inclusivity. Sequitur. Best Cinematography, The Oracle of ReWilding. Really special Oracle deck that I used quite a bit throughout this year. Artwork by Alexander Eldridge, who also did the Radiant Tarot, and Sherry Salmon. With a really comprehensive book. And lovely short quotes. And one-word titles, which I'm very partial to, because I think one-word Oracle card titles really give you the greatest flexibility in how you use the Oracle cards. I went around and around on choices for this. I probably gave it way too much time and thought as to which decks I would use. One of the things is I'm doing a lot of end of year videos, if you hadn't noticed, and I didn't want them all to just be the same decks. But it's also, I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of different decks, and they do land differently depending on the question that's being asked. This combination of vintage black and white photographs, and animal heads and animal imagery and surreal imagery. It just makes it incredibly evocative. And it is, if you had a film that had this kind of palette and this kind of blending of old and new images, this would be, you know, a wonderful cinematography. So that's how I landed there. The Oracle of ReWilding, Best Cinematography. Ladies and gentlemen, as you walk the red carpet, you'll understand that sometimes there is a tie. And for Best Animation, we have a tie of an animation that harkens back to the old school early animation and a new one. The Mystical Medlies is a deck that I have raved about through the year. Anytime I talk about animated decks, even though I have many cartoony decks, I have to think of this one because it just does such a wonderful blend of these old images with the traditional Taro and Rider-Waite-Smith systems, and then it's just an incredibly strong deck to read with because of the kind of sweet and sour aspect of these old cartoons. They were entertaining and very fun and sweet, but at the same time they were often very perverse. And the creator, Gary Hall, captures that mixture in a way that it all comes through in readings that you do with this deck, which makes this deck incredibly useful to take out to a party, because these images have permeated our culture to such an extent. There, I'll stop on the High Priestess. Tied with the Journey Tarot from its wacky box that I always have to turn around 3 times to figure out how I'm supposed to open it, with this lush illustrated world and a much more modern illustration style. This deck, while ostensibly a Rider-Waite-Smith structure, it also doesn't at all mind taking departures from that structure. It is a deck that was specifically intended to be read intuitively. So while there is a guidebook, it is not a deck that works very well if you're a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith reader expecting to just pick it up and understand the images. This is meant to be read as something of its own. And be a world of its own, and it absolutely achieves that, creating its own world. Same time, it is multi-ethnic, reflective of many different cultures and races, which really makes it a journey. And it's also a bit of a time period journey as well. The Journey Taro. It's a very, very slight linen finish, basically a smooth finish, but linenized smooth finish. Lovely weight cards. And rose petal backs. It's linen on the front and rose petal back. But again, not the super sticky rose petal. Oh, it's just an interesting independent production all around. Most Poetic deck will be no surprise for anyone who follows me regularly, the Forager's Daughter. What is the thing I most often say about this deck is that it reads like poetry to me. Tremendous fidelity to the Rider-Waite-Smith system, and yet within this unique art world of flora and fauna with these incredible artworks. Crystals, herbology, all included here. An array of additional majors. Both easy to read and yet completely distinct. And the more I use it, the more I find that, to me, it just reads with an incredibly poetic voice. Probably one of my top 5 decks of any year. And as I have said, if anyone has the Kickstarter version that has different colored borders for each suit and is not as enamored with it as I am and is looking to move it on, that is one of my dream decks. I'm not necessarily looking to have a second version, but I do particularly like borders that are suits that are defined by different colored border. That's something I like in a deck, and the Kickstarter version is the only one that had that. Most Poetic, the Forager's Daughter, Taro. The Shadow deck of the year, a deck by Peaceful Pagan Person, the Beauty of Bones Tarot. This is a Memento Mori deck that manages to be both Memento Mori and incredibly beautiful. It is more of a pip deck, although it is a decorated pip, in this case literally decorated with bones and flowers. This is a very strong reader for me. This one does have suits defined by colored borders, though they're not solid color borders. A Memento Mori deck. That brings the shadow with it, but also brings the beauty with it as well. Of glistening golds, silvers, bronzes, as well as flowers. You know how some movies are completed, but then they're kind of stuck in post-production and a long delay? Well, I'm going to consider this one to be one of those, since it's a 2022 deck that I only got this year. This is my award for most underrated deck. It just simply is a deck that I have not seen much, by Reese Marin. I was definitely influenced by Dear Julia at Highly Sensitive Tarot, and it is, drumroll please, the Pensive Path Tarot. This is one of several decks that I've got this year that are great art inspired decks, and yet this one manages to avoid all the usual suspects and have a very unique perspective and voice in the images. And almost all of the pages are young children like this. It just I love her face. And as I said, Julia at Highly Sensitive Tarot showed this, and I thought, oh my goodness, where has this been in my life? These strong classical art evocative images speak so powerfully to me. I mean, how's that for 5 of Pentacles? If that doesn't make you feel something, you don't have any much of a heart, in my opinion. This enigmatic 10 of Swords. Is he tired? Is he making a snow angel? Is he dead? Excuse me. Just an incredible array of really well-researched artwork to find evocative, and what a joyous, joyous 3 of Cups. To find images that really encapsulate and yet encapsulate the idea in a fresh way, and in a thoughtful way, the Pensive Path. Most underrated deck. Collector's Deck 2025. This one has risen above the competition. I have the smaller first edition size, but the deck that has been shown by both Kasia at Tarot Maps and Simon at the Hermit's Cave is the premier collector's deck, with the wooden box that has the hot etching in the lid of phrases from the books. The faithfulness to the original artwork of Sir John Tenniel really makes this rise above. Another element that puts this into the collector's category now is because it is now no longer available in the United States. Only maybe a week ago, I did my complete walkthrough of this deck and gave information on some of the vagaries of ordering it from Russia and the best way to do that is to make sure you're contacting her throughout the process. And then she sent me a note and said that it is no longer available in the United States. And I'm sure that has to do with the idiocy of our foreign policy right now and tariffs, and not to mention other things. I mean, we might have been in this position with Russia regardless, as long as the war with Ukraine goes on, no matter who was in charge. But the tariff situation doesn't help, I'm sure. So for that reason, it is now, we can hope that eventually things will open up again. We can hope for world peace. I certainly do. Meanwhile, this becomes a real collector's item here in the States, and also it is a collector's item by any standpoint because it is a limited edition production. I think 500 of the first edition. I have a card that says, I think it's 500 of the first edition, and mine is 226, but it doesn't say of how many. And an even more limited of the Premier Collector's large size edition. So this is my award for Collector's Deck 2025. Kickstarter of the year for me goes to the Moonjube Taro. This is a bright and fun deck. I don't do many Kickstarters at all, and this is the winner for me, partially because I mentioned my other Kickstarter in another end-of-year video. But also, I was thinking, in terms of movies, this kind of award normally goes to a smaller film that reached a smaller audience in art houses, and yet it was bright and fun, and it became big enough to be noticed. The kind of pop art, indie sensibility of this film, of this deck. I'm really immersed in this, aren't I? And the fidelity to Rider-Waite-Smith images, diverse representation, and this combination of fun and depth and history and modernity, and also all of it kind of wrapped in this 60s, 70s kind of, 1960s sensibility, just makes it really fun and bright. Not without its depth and its darkness. There's so many pop culture references in different time periods. This may be one of my favorite Ten of Wands cards ever. A brilliant hermit. So best Kickstarter for me is the Moonjube Taro. And finally, we get to the prestige awards that close out this award round, this award season. Mass Market, the Dream Song Oracle. part of my thought process in choosing this is, if this is the one of this year, it's one that everybody was talking about. And this is one that I certainly noticed that across the spectrum of tarot readers, this deck was being mentioned and getting a tremendous amount of affection and use from a wide variety of the community. Certainly to me, it is reminiscent of the artwork of Mystical Moments. And that's all to the good, and yet it has its own different vibe, a little darker. And it has phrases instead of words. The phrases are short enough that they still can help create spread questions and just really these evocative, surreal collage images. So the Prestige Award for Mass Market Deck that has just risen above the pack during this year. The Dream Song Oracle. Best Indie Deck, think of this as Best Independent Film, and for me there's no question, it is the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. I've been mentioning it all year. This is one of the decks that rests and lives beside my bed. And it is by virtue of being indie because it's definitely an art house film. It's not going to be for everyone. It takes interpretation. It doesn't have an easy storyline to follow. The structure is Rider-Waite-Smith structure, so in a way you know the story, but you've just never seen it done this way. And it might be the kind of film that has a cliffhanger or an ending that you can't figure out, and the kind of ending that people talk about and say, well, what did that mean? What, those last few words, what does Rosebud mean? And what does that have to do with wrapping up the rest of the film? So, best independent feature for me is the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. You know those sleeper films that come out are released right at the end of December of one year, but they still get into the awards for the next year, and that has given them time to become absolutely beloved. Well, this is the best picture of the year. I thought about a lot of elements of this. I thought it has to be something that a lot of people are rooting for because people have really come to value it and understand its worth. And even though technically it was 2024, I think it still somehow got into the next year's award show. And this is the Peculiar Pathways Tarot with the magnificent guidebook by Lennox Rees. Most of you don't need any introduction to this deck. It has this wonderful juxtaposition of the black and white etching images in the foreground, or in the very foreground, the floral and fruit images, and then the main image is the black and white etching, and then a pathway in the back, a vision of a landscape that I have found in working with it that landscape in the background often connects in ways that adds another level to the reading. So there are all these layers here, and it has both a depth and complexity, which means you can rewatch this film over time and get more and more out of it, but also that it's easily grasped on just one level. So the people who are only attaching to the black and white image can read it and enjoy it just like that. The people who are looking for the color and the color readings of the flowers can read it that way. It can be read by separate items, or you can combine all of these things. So best deck of 2025 for me, the Peculiar Pathways Tarot. I hope you've enjoyed my awards, and just a shout out to Taro for Tired People. This was a wonderful way to have a red carpet, so it still looks kind of holiday oriented. So we've got our red carpet, a wonderful VR for everybody in the world who's not celebrating Christmas holidays or end of year holidays. And a way that to put it into a pop culture reference that we all can understand. I think she said this was her first VR, and so I'm really hoping other people will jump in and take the time to do it, even though it's not holiday related specifically, and to give her some love and attention for this inventive VR. This is Kara from Kara Taro. May this be an awarding day for you.